Welcome all on Edge. Today is Monday, Parsha Shmini Aleph, Yid Beis Nisan Tuf Shin Pai Vov on Edge, and it's March 30th, 2026.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by the...
So, as we have told you earlier, Iran fired huge waves of missiles overnight into Israel, and as well Saudi Arabia, Dubai and Kuwait, their neighboring... they're good neighbors. The strikes destroyed the United States E-3 Sentry AWACS spy plane. Now, this is a general spy jet the military uses to spot deadly drones in the sky. This is the very first time one of these $300 million planes has been lost in combat. The US only has about 18 of these planes left. Experts warn that losing even one makes it much harder for the Americans to see incoming attacks from Iran. Meanwhile, Iran is bragging today about its cheap attack drones. They just showed off a $20,000 drone painted with special symbols. These symbols are meant to show off exactly what the weapon is going to destroy. Iran claims this cheap little drone hit a US base in Saudi Arabia. They say it completely wiped out the expensive American radar plane, in their words, along with several other of America's most advanced missile defense systems. Whether those claims are entirely true or not, countries like China and India reportedly are racing to copy the design. The United States the United States military has built its own cheap copycat version of the Shahed drone. They are giving Iran a taste of its own medicine by using them to launch swarms of strikes right back at them. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky claims Russia directly aided the attacks. He says Moscow supplied Tehran with deadly satellite images of the American base just days before the strike. Across the Gulf, the missiles also hit aluminum sites in the United Arab Emirates in Bahrain. Now, in Kuwait, the Iranian missiles heavily damaged a power station and a water desalination facility. Now, a desalination facility is a plant designed by Israel that removes salt from ocean water so people can drink it safely. Now, the strike hit a critical lifeline for the area. In a desert region, you have to understand, this plant is the only thing keeping the taps flowing. Destroying it instantly creates a massive humanitarian crisis, cutting off fresh water for over 30 villagers. Tragically, one person was killed in this strike on the power station. Officials identified him as an Indian foreign worker. Let's talk about Montreal and Matzah Bäckerei. Well, in just a few days, we're all going to sit by the Seder table and enjoy a beautiful piece of matzah from Montreal Matzah Bakery. For those of you that at least got it. If you didn't yet, you can still hop around by going into your local groceries or supermarkets or go into montrealmatzah.com. Type in your zip code and find the nearest local grocery that sells Montreal Matzah. You might still find one. They have look out for the regular ones, the extra thin ones, the spelt ones, the whole wheat ones, and also they have oat matzahs, okay? Now, 4320 14th Avenue is their pop-up shop. They're still open till Erev Pesach. Chap around. Don't chap around and let's the minute, kind of thing, but go now. Okay, things are getting a little tense and confusing at the same time in the Middle East. The Pentagon is actively preparing for a ground invasion inside Iran. The United States military is advancing plans for Operation Epic Fury. This is a mission that includes weeks of ground operations, special operations, and limited infantry missions. United States troop levels in the region have now grown to 50,000. The military is drafting plans to fly special operation forces directly into the country to seize 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium, the uranium used to make atomic bombs. The goal is to permanently dismantle Iran's nuclear weapons program. Over 3,500 United States troops just arrived in the Central Command region. This brings 2,500 Marines and a major buildup from the 82nd Airborne Division alongside the USS Tripoli warship that has just arrived to the scene. The war has killed thousands, and Iran warned it is prepared to confront any ground assault. Tehran accused Washington of secretly planning a land attack while publicly asking for talks. Marking day 30 of the conflict, Iranian parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf vowed never to accept humiliation. He threatened to trap United States troops in a swamp of death, set them on fire, and punish regional partners forever. However, the spokesperson, that is still alive, for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC as you know him, Ibrahim Fagari dismissed the American ground threats, and he stated that Trump only understands the language of force. Meanwhile, a third written message was released from the unseen new supreme leader, Mushtaba Khamenei. Where is he? His cardboard piece may be peeped out behind a tree. He thanked Iraq for its war support as speculations grows over his health. Behind the scenes, obviously, Iranian President Pezeshkian. Whose side is he on? Nobody knows, basically they're both divided. Him and the IRGC are very divided over this war and the strategy of the war. Despite this, Tehran is demanding the complete removal of the American presence in the Gulf as a peace condition, they will not negotiate. In other words, they also have demands. President Donald J. Trump stated the United States is already taking control of the Strait of Hormuz and the 7 islands that hold its keys. President Trump is talking about taking control of Karg Island. This is the main place where Iran sends its oil to the rest of the world. When a reporter asked him if he really plans to take Iran's oil, Trump answered angrily. He said it was a stupid question, stating, quote, "Of course we are taking the oil. We should take the oil." Trump also gave a stronger warning today. He said he will completely destroy Iran's oil machines if they do not agree to stop fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz very soon. Well, his deadline is nearing, obviously, as we know, next week Monday, right? Trump also said that killing Iran's maybe he'll extend it, you never know. Trump also said killing Iran's top leaders means the old government has been replaced. Even with many soldiers and weapons gathering in the area, the president says the 5-week war will end soon by making a deal. Trump says, he says it because Iran's top leaders are dead now, and a new group is now in charge that is finally ready to work with the United States. This is what he says. We haven't heard it back from the other side. He told reporters that Iran is looking at a peace plan with 15 steps. Well, Khamenei wouldn't have agreed to these steps. The old Khamenei that is dead right now. There was a picture of him recently released on the day of his attack, sitting in his bunker. That's a picture of him. But the point is, putting together this peace plan, Pakistan has offered their support, obviously. But Iran said in public that they do not accept the plan, and their foreign minister says they are not talking with the United States at all. That's Abbas Araghchi. Looks like he's probably not part of it, maybe. I don't know. Pakistan announced it would be honored to host these regional talks. Like I said just now, the talks are endorsed by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. Well, Trump stated Iran agreed to allow either 20 more boats, 10 oil tankers, or 20 ships of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, if you can make that math. However, Representative Jim Hims pushed back, and he accused the president of making false claims, noting that the Iranians are actually still in control of the waterway. Inside Iran, blackouts plunged part of Tehran and the city of Karaj into darkness. They had no electricity, no lights. Shrapnel struck a high-voltage tower and electrical facilities. This forced protesters to use phone flashlights as explosions and fighter jets were heard around 9 o'clock at night. Iran's Ministry of Energy claims the power grid was attacked by a United States proxy group without President Trump's knowledge. While Iran did not name the specific group, this attack comes right after Israel announced it knocked out Iran's cyber warfare headquarters as part of a larger US-Israeli campaign. At the exact same time, the IDF carried out a separate wave of strikes, destroying Iranian mobile command centers. These attacks struck Mehrabad International Airport and Qatar's Al-Arabi network office, injuring 10 people. During the chaos, IRGC Greater Tehran commander Hassan Hassanzadeh and his deputy were both assassinated on Sebunchi Street. Finally, in a third major development in the International Atomic Energy Agency, they confirmed an independent Israeli airstrike happened where, the agency says, the strike caused severe damage to a heavy water plant in a place called Kondab. Iraq officials say the nuclear plant is now non-operational despite having no declared nuclear material there. Turning to Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Northern Command and called for an invasion deeper into southern Lebanon. Now let's move over to Lebanon. Okay, the main goal is to push the Hezbollah terrorists back to the Litani River. We spoke about this several times already. Creating a safe area to northern Israel. Creating a safe area so that northern Israel could be safe again. To make this happen, Israeli troops had to tear down the village of Deir Sirian, which which obviously had been turned into a terror base. The IDF also sent its special snow combat troops, the Alpinist Unit, across the snowy border at Mount Hermon. On top of that, the Air Force carried out a strike that took out armed terrorists hiding inside a building. Tragically, we reported yesterday that a Chabadske Chusset serving in the Israeli military from Connecticut was killed, Hashem Yimkum Doma, during the fighting in southern Lebanon. This marks the 6th Israeli soldier killed in the region recently in Lebanon. In that same region of southern Lebanon, where fighting is intensifying, a United Nations peacekeeper from Indonesia was killed, and a second peacekeeper was critically injured. An explosive projectile hit their position near the village of, I think it's pronounced Atchit al-Quisir. Would you remember this if I say this? Who cares? If you don't know, you don't know. If you do know, you do know. Good. All right. Both men were evacuated by helicopter to Beirut, but one of them later died from his injuries. The exact origin of the strike is currently unknown. While some international news outlets are blaming an Israeli artillery strike, both the UN and the Israeli military are still investigating the incident. Oh, we almost forgot about Gaza. Okay, down in Gaza, the IDF bombed a Hamas cell, a terrorist cell. Meanwhile, following a separate tragedy in Petah Tikva, the Home Front Command issued a stern warning, a stern reminder to the public. They stressed that residential safe rooms in the houses they have, they build the buildings, and in the middle there's like a safe room, which is built with thicker concrete and obviously can withstand the stress of a bomb nearby, but cannot withstand direct hits from heavy bombs. The head of the Israeli military took an entire combat unit off active duty. The IDF chief of staff suspended the 914th Netzach Yehuda battalion from operating in the West Bank. This happened after what we reported yesterday, that soldiers from that unit confronted, assaulted, and detained a news crew from CNN. The army investigated the incident and decided to halt the battalion's operational deployment. Instead, the unit will now stay on reserve duty. The suspension will last until the battalion goes through a thorough and required training process to strengthen the professional and ethical foundations of the unit. In the south, an Iranian missile strike sparked a major fire at Adama chemical plant, which is in the Neot Chovav industrial zone, raising serious fears of hazardous chemical leaks. The attack lightly injured 11 Yidden in Be'er Sheva in the recent missile strike, which happened over Shabbos. As we reported here, many Yidden were injured in Beit Shemesh as well over Shabbos, right? Baruch Hashem, there was nothing worse than light injuries. The terrorists, don't really care about anyone's level of frumkeit. They just want to hurt Yidden in general. So, Ahavas Chinam will bring this disaster to an end, hopefully, and bring us all to the third and final Beis HaMikdash. Now, with everything going on, Yidden and Eretz Yisrael saying that they are going to have a very challenging Pesach to this Yom Tov. Families will mamish have to make the Seder nights down in the bomb shelters. How sad is that? Let's daven for them. It's not easy. Because of this, the Rabbanim put out special halachic guidelines so everyone knows exactly how to run the Seder the right way while staying safe, and let us pray for their safety. The war with Iran is making oil and gas prices shoot all the way up. Global oil is over $116 a barrel, and the United States gas is near $4 a gallon. Prices jumped even more after President Trump threatened to attack Iran's oil fields. Experts warn prices could go even higher than that, causing stock markets to drop. Thankfully, heavy American oil drilling, drill, is stopping a worse price explosion. Meanwhile, the Iran-backed Houthis fired missiles and drones at Israel. Now, we all know this, what happened on Motzei Shabbos. People fear they will block major shipping lanes in the Red Sea because they just joined the war. Before we move on with the news, I want to take a minute to thank some of you, and most of you actually, for the warm feedback I receive. You can always call me on 845-671-1775 right here, press number 5, and send me feedbacks. Now, one of our dear listeners, one of you, sent a really interesting question. Do the ballistic missiles we mention here all the time have anything to do with the Avnei Blistruos that we learn in Chazal and Gemara about the times of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash? Now, well, the answer is factually, yes, it's truly amazing. The words ballistic and ballistruos actually sound similar, right? They come from the same exact root word, which means to throw. The basic idea is exactly the same as today, as it was back then. Just like they used to shoot a heavy stone high up in the air, so it would crash down on the enemy. A ballistic missile works the exact same way. It gets, it gets shot up high into the sky, over space, essentially, and then falls back down onto its targets with tremendous speed and force. So basically, they are the very same Avnei Blistruos, only today, instead of a heavy rock, it crashes down using powerful explosives in a warhead. Now, in other words, the missile the Houthis fired is called the Palestine II. What makes it so dangerous is that it was built to try and dodge Israel's defense system. A person on YouTube actually designed he does a lot of these things. Well, he makes, he animates it by hand, not with AI, by the way. Very fascinating, and he describes exactly how it works. So, AI Telly, it's called, and he basically describes that this missile flies in a confusing, unpredictable manner, a pattern, to trick the defense computers. Now, while Israel successfully shoots down almost all of these threats with using the Iron Dome, the THAAD, the American THAAD detection, or defense system, or even the David Sling, tracking down these specific weapons is incredibly hard. Because of this, the defense shield is not completely bulletproof, but the recent one that they shot towards Eilat was, Baruch Hashem, intercepted. Over in Australia, the war is causing a serious fuel shortage, and worried drivers are panic buying gas right now as gas stations run dry. To help calm things down, the government is stepping in to cut the tax in half for the next 3 months to give people a little bit of a relief at the pump. Half of British families are reportedly struggling to afford everyday basic costs right now because of the recent war with Iran has caused prices to skyrocket in England. Now, we all know that British leaders have told people to stop price gouging and blame the war because of that. G7 leaders, including United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer, are holding emergency summits to protect their economies from the worsening shortage. Now, at the same time, officials warn that the shipping crisis has left 20,000 sailors stranded at sea all over the world. Back in Israel, the Knesset passed the largest state budget in Israel's history. The new wartime budget for the year 2026 is for $271 billion US dollars. That's about 800-something billion shekels. Lawmakers voted at the very last minute. The final vote happened after a marathon filibuster. A filibuster is when politicians speak for hours and hours and hours and hours to delay a vote, right? So, right in the middle of all the speeches, missile sirens actually went off, so they ought to run out. Passing this budget successfully stopped early elections from happening. All the coalition partners officially voted for the plan. They backed it even though they made threats and criticized the spending earlier. Under this approved plan, billions of dollars will go to the Haredi institutions. The massive financial package also includes a very large boost for defense spending. Fake rabbis created by artificial intelligence, AI, are spreading vicious Jew hatred and anti-Semitism to hundreds of millions of people online. They are specifically targeting users on Instagram. These characters use names like Rabbi Goldman and Rabbi Silverman. They look like genuine older men with white beards. Those of you who are unfamiliar with AI and how it works could get fooled by it. But the people that do know AI a little bit do recognize the artifacts and hear that it's AI. But, well, they are completely fake. Like I said, there is no real person behind them. It is only anti-Semitism behind it, trying to push a certain agenda. These fake accounts combine old anti-Semitism with questionable financial advice. They tell their millions of followers that Yidden run the world, in other words, and that the moon landing was fake, and many other conspiracy theories that Jews run everything. New research shows that Instagram's algorithm is effectively feeding this hateful content to millions. A group in America called Combat Anti-Semitism Movement investigated this issue, and they used special technology to scan social media apps for 96 hours. During that time, the scan found about 100 anti-Semitic posts coming from these large, faceless accounts. In total, these fabricated posts have been seen by hundreds of millions of people across the world online. For now, this particular account was taken down. In Jerusalem, major holy sites are closed right now because of the war and the ongoing threat of Iranian missiles. Yesterday, Israeli police stopped the local head galach of his group, the cardinal of his group, and his group from going into their main church for their services right now. Prime Minister Netanyahu said the police kept the galach away simply for his own safety. However, the decision caused a huge uproar from the church and from Christians around the world, especially from Italy. Because of the complaints, the government is stepping in right now. They announced that police are making a new security plan so that the galachim can easily get in safely into their churches in the coming days. Pope Leo XIV used his Palm Sunday Mass as a Christian church service to publicly criticize the Trump administration. He firmly rejected claims that God justifies war, stating clearly that God ignores the prayers of leaders who have hands full of blood. Well, this came just days after United States Secretary of War Pete Hegseth publicly prayed for violence against America's enemies. saying they deserve no mercy. The shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security is now officially the longest in America's history, passing 43 days, my friends. As we've been talking about, we've been talking about this all week. This caused a massive mess at the airports, with so many unpaid TSA workers calling out sick. To help fix these lines, the government sent in immigration officers, ICE, to work the security. It worked, and the long wait times are finally dropping. Still, officials say you should get to the airport early just to be safe. So don't even take my words for it. Go early. President Trump is making strong statements about Cuba, telling reporters the Cuban regime is going to fall, and they are next. Trump says this is happening right now because of the heavy economic and political pressure from the United States. Behind the scenes, his administration is even looking into possible criminal charges against Cuban leaders. Now, following the president's bold predictions, both the US and Cuba have confirmed they are sitting down for high-level talks. Reporters pushed Senator Marco Rubio to explain the recent United States military operation that captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Now, they asked why the military left other wanted, high-ranking officials behind in power, which are actually wanted with a lot of money as a bounty on their heads. Rubio strongly defended the mission as a massive and a complicated success. He pointed out that American forces landed helicopters inside a major enemy military base, and pulled out their top target in under 3 minutes. Rubio stressed that the troops escaped without a single American casualty. He dismissed the criticism, stating it is completely ridiculous to expect the military to run the exact same dangerous mission in 5 different enemy locations at the exact same time and get out safely. Anyways, Rabbi Isai, this is it for today. Have yourselves a wonderful day. But before we do so, let me thank my sponsors, Protobyte, 347-354-1237. You can always design your custom-made software by going on to proto-byte.com. You won't want to miss this. Go call them right now. Get yourself a good plan and a good software, good program running for your business, something that will make you a lot of money. Now, Kliger is there for you for your communication. If you want to get a little bit of Kliger about your communication, get rid of all the applications that you write messages from and to your customers and to everyone else around you, or even private. You can get Kliger to simply put all your communications in one inbox. And as well, they have other things besides just an inbox. They have Salesforce, sales tracking, they have invoicing and all kind of different things that you can incorporate into this amazing software that they offer. Kliger. Go on to Kliger, KLEEGR.com. And we have as well, of course, YS Capital Group for all your loans for investments. Obviously, if you want to borrow some money for an investment, you can call them on 718-831-2168. And as well, we have Arrive Express, 845-622-1111 or 845-254-1111. Have yourselves a wonderful day and a wonderful time and a wonderful Yom Tov.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.